No, Denmark, I looked forward to going, but I thought that the Prime Minister's statement that it was absurd, it was an absurd idea, it was nasty. I thought it was an inappropriate statement. All she had to do is say, no, we wouldn't be interested, but we can't treat the United States of America the way they treated us under President Obama. I thought it was a very not nice way of saying something. They could have told me no. This is something that's been discussed for many years. Harry Truman had the idea of Greenland. I had the idea. Other people have had the idea. It goes back into the early 1900s. But Harry Truman very strongly thought it was a good idea. I think it's a good idea because Denmark is losing $700 million a year with it. It doesn't do them any good, but all they had to do is say, no, we'd rather not do that, or we'd rather not talk about it. Don't say what an absurd idea that is, because she's not talking to me. Excuse me. She's not talking to me. She's talking to the United States of America. You don't talk to the United States that way, at least under me. Now, President Obama, when they wouldn't let him land in the Philippines, when they treated him so badly at so many places, the Philippines is one that comes to mind. That's different. That's different. They can treat him any way they want to. That's up to him. But they can't treat the United States with a statement, how absurd. Greenland was just an idea, just a thought. But I think when they say it was absurd and it was said in a very nasty, very sarcastic way, I said, we'll make it some other time. We'll go to Denmark. I love Denmark. I've been to Denmark. And frankly, we'll do it another time. Respect has to be shown to the United States. Go ahead.
After 2.5 years under the president's leadership, America is leading in space once again. This president recognizes what the American people have known for more than half a century. And that is that our security, our prosperity, and our very way of life depend on American leadership and American leadership in space. Now, we acknowledge that low Earth orbit is not our final destination, but rather it is a training ground for the infinite frontier of space. And I can assure you the American people are ready for the next chapter in our nation's history in space. So at the President's direction, we've put an end to decades of budget cuts and decline, and we've renewed America's commitment to human space exploration, vowing to go further into space, farther and faster than ever before. Earlier this year, President Trump made it the policy of this administration to return to the moon by 2024 and ensure that the next man and the first woman on the moon will be American astronauts. And working with our industry leaders, before the year is out, the United States will once again send American astronauts into space on American rockets from American soil. So we're making great progress, but we have new ambitions. In this still new century, America is not only going to return to the moon, but we're going to return there with new objectives. Because unlike a half century ago, this time, our objective will be to establish a permanent presence on the lunar surface, and from there we will develop the capabilities to journey to the red planet of Mars. As President Trump said, in his words, it is America's destiny to be the leader amongst nations on our adventure into the great unknown. And that's why the National Space Council was reconstituted, and that's what brought us here today. And while the tasks before us involve hardship and hazard, sacrifice and perseverance, we know what the men and women of Apollo 11 knew 50 years ago, and that is simply this, that Americans can accomplish anything we set our minds to, and America will lead the world back into the vast expanse of space.
The unintended consequence of Mr. Garner's death must have a consequence of its own. Therefore, I agree with the Deputy Commissioner of Trials' legal findings and recommendations. It is clear that Daniel Pantaleo can no longer effectively serve as a New York City police officer. The NYPD court ruled that while certainly not preferable, that hold was acceptable during that brief moment in time because the risk of falling through the window was so high. But that exigent circumstance no longer existed, the court found, when Officer Pantaleo and Mr. Garner moved to the ground. Every time I watch that video, I say to myself, as probably all of you do, to Mr. Garner, don't do it. Comply. To Officer Pantaleo, don't do it. I said that about the decisions made by both Officer Pantaleo and Mr. Garner. But none of us can take back our decisions, most especially when they lead to the death of another human being.
He's firing a police officer who even said almost 300 arrests, took numerous guns off the street, 14 commendations from the New York City Police Department, an exemplary police officer, not a troublemaker. That meant nothing.
Yeah, Pantaleo, you may have lost your job, but I lost a son.
That's right.
July 17, 2014. I lost my son. You cannot replace that. You can get another job, maybe at Burger King, okay?
We will be going to the state of New York to ask that they begin to make it illegal by law, the use of the chokehold. It ought to be a state law and a federal law that chokeholds by police is punishable with a crime, not just termination.
Officer Pantaleo, well, now I can say Daniel Pantaleo is a murderer, and that's just how I feel. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and now I wear it on my chest. I feel that he is a murderer. Commissioner O'Neill, I thank you for doing the right thing. I truly, sincerely thank you for firing the officer. Regardless to however you came up to your decision, you finally made a decision that should have been made 5 years ago. We will be going for the congressional hearings. We will be trying to reopen the case. We will be going after the rest of the officers involved because it's not over. Justice for New York City means Pantaleo is fired and there's no murdering cop on the police force.
Hey, everyone.
First bite, I was like, wow, there's no comparison to me.
The biggest debate of the century, Popeyes versus Chick-fil-A.
That's like a little too big of a bite.
Who has the best chicken sandwich?
Popeye's chicken seems to be a little more robust.
It compares nothing to Chick-fil-A.
I like the fact that I can get it on Sunday.
Chick-fil-A's chicken sandwiches are like my love.
We took the debate to Atlanta, otherwise known as Ground Zero, home of Chick-fil-A. So we had our staff blind taste test both sandwiches to see which ones they liked best.
You want to cheers? Yeah, cheers.
This has a lot of other stuff going on with it. Very chickeny.
The pickle is almost more like cucumbery.
Batter to meat ratio is really high.
Definitely Popeyes.
Popeyes. Yeah, this is for sure. The pickle's different. I'm gonna have to taste it again though, just to be sure it's lunchtime.
I think based on the bread, it's Chick-fil-A.
I think it's Chick-fil-A.
It's really dry though.
Pretty good, but...
Y'all were wrong.
No.
Really?
The first was Popeyes.
Whoa!
The verdict?
I would eat Chick-fil-A over and over and over again with a chicken sandwich. They're both good, but like Chick-fil-A has that taste that's been around for years.
Popeyes.
Popeyes. Who'd have thunk it?
Probably stick with Chick-fil-A, probably.
If I had to
The
eat
pickle's
a
better.
chicken sandwich, it would probably be the Popeyes one. But I would never order a chicken sandwich.
Can I say something blasphemous for someone born and raised in Georgia though? Just the chicken alone, Popeyes is more moist. Chick-fil-A is a little dry.
I wouldn't say one is better than the other though.
Agree.
Right,
Agree.
yeah.
But I definitely would stop at Popeyes occasionally for a chicken sandwich.
For sure.
She has been so great. She has such heart. She's strong, but with great, great heart. And I want to thank you for an outstanding job.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, check out these other videos from USA Today to stay up to date with all the latest news.